I know this is not the most exciting thing I've ever videotaped, but still kind of cool. So what we've got here, it's an Epson small portable, well not maybe portable, but inkjet printer in the hotel room. And I just printed a PDF document wirelessly, which is kind of cool. So basically from the phone, I printed the document to the printer with no external connections. It's kind of cool. And it looks like a decent printer. So about, I don't know, 50 bucks at Best Buy. Epson, let's see if this will work. There we go, XP440. And it's got a flatbed scanner on it. For now, I'm just going to use it to print out a couple study guides that I wanted to have access to. I created a document on a Raspberry Pi, which is a little tiny portable computer. And so I typed it on there and then put the file on my phone and then just wirelessly printed it. And it worked, which is pretty cool. Yeah, alright, so what is it? Sunday, hopefully, otherwise I'm late for something. Yeah, just picking up laundry. This is one of those things that are kind of handy in a situation like mine, I guess would be the easiest way to say it. Yes, I could do my own laundry. In fact, there's laundry available at the hotel, but since we're doing training 6 days a week and pretty much all of us have the same day off, it's just giant pain to sit there and try to get laundry done with everybody else doing laundry at the same time. So I figured this out a while ago. Another time I was living in a hotel, look for a place that does laundry drop off or pick-up. This one is a drop off, but I think they actually would come pick it up too. But yesterday I just dropped the laundry off. The basket full, that is just less than 15 pounds. So their minimum charge is for 15 pounds. It was like $15, $16, something like that. Boom, done. They wash it, they dry it, they mess with the machine. I don't got to screw around with, trying to get the machine to work, which you'd think is simple, but the last laundromat I used to go to in El Paso, they used the cashless machines where you had basically like a little cash card. So you would put money on the card and then you'd use the card to make the machine work, and it would take the money off the card again. And it never would work. You'd sit there and put it in, take it out, put it in, take it out. This card would never read right. So anyway, this way, yeah, you just drop it off. I said I'd pick it up the next day, no problem. It was actually done last night sometime. Come out today, pick it up. This is about 5 miles from the hotel, so it would be further than you'd want to walk to do laundry. But since I do have my pickup here, in the same neighborhood, across the street is the Walmart. So I did some grocery shopping yesterday when I dropped off the laundry. There's a hamburger place, Whataburger, right here. There's a Denny's back behind me. There's a Goodwill store behind me. Yesterday I went to Denny's after dropping off laundry. Hit the Goodwill, just curious, see what they'd have, and scored an awesome jacket, camouflage style, not military issue, but similar, very well made. $16, right? Yeah. So maybe I'll take that on the road. I just couldn't pass it up. It was just a good looking jacket, so I'm like, hey, all right. Yeah, right. Anyway, that's about all I had to do for today, so I'm going to head back to the room. I've been doing some studying. On the truck driving, testing, training, whatever, this last week, out of 16 of us, there was 2 people that got signed off on the pre-trip inspection, which we're not quite there yet, but They said that basically 2 people were close enough that they signed us off, so I was one of them, and so that means the other 14 people weren't doing very well. And a couple of instructors made it a point of mentioning that they don't remember the last time there's been that few people to pass. So yeah, so we've been doing nightly study groups down in the hotel lobby and stuff like that. Something I was doing for myself, I bought yesterday, actually I bought it the day before and picked it up yesterday. Since you don't have a lot of time to be driving around looking for something, I usually do my research online, and places like Best Buy and Walmart now too, you find one you like online, you can buy it online and pick it up at the store, so when you get there it's waiting for you. You don't have to walk around and try to find it, which just saves you a little bit of time and no additional charge, so that's kind of cool. So I bought this printer. I did a little clip on it already. It has wireless printing, so I can have a document on my phone and print to it through Wi-Fi. And it basically, there's 2 ways you can do it. You can have the printer connected to your wireless network, like at home, or there's also Wi-Fi direct printing, which is what I used. And so the printer creates its own Wi-Fi hotspot that is only for printing. And then from there, you just, on the phone, I loaded up a PDF document in this case, click the little 3 dots, click, print, choose the printer, off you go. I think there was just a tiny bit of setup. I had to download an app. In this case, it was for Epson's. So download the app, the instructions were with the printer, the app finds the printer the first time, and after that you're done. Pretty simple. So you just have it plugged in, put some paper in it, turn the printer on, go to the phone, grab what you want, send it to the printer, and off you go. Pretty slick. Yeah. I figured, alright, $50 for the printer. Alright. I don't need it very much for the next week, and I'll put it back in the pickup here probably, so not use it anymore. But it was one of those things where the printer I have back in the bus was getting old and worn out, so I was kind of looking for a new printer anyway. I probably bought the cheapest printer I could find, and the fact that it had Wi-Fi built in was just kind of a handy way to do it. It also had an option where you could take an SD card and put the card, like so for instance your camera, take pictures on your camera, take the card out of the camera, plug the card into the printer, and then it would print directly from the memory card, so you don't have to load it into your computer and then send it to the printer. It's maybe one, I don't know if it's a huge improvement or not, but if you just wanted to print something really quickly, you could just send it straight to the printer and be done. Yeah, kind of cool. Let's see, what else? So this last week, we did straight line backing, so we're actually driving the truck on the property still, and we haven't gone very far. We're just going back and forth, So straight line backing is you drive the truck forward about 2 or 3 lengths, and then you back it straight between 2 rows of cones, and that seems pretty simple, but the trailer doesn't like to go straight when you're going backwards, and so you have to learn how to control it to keep it from going off on you. So we did that for about a whole day. There's 1 truck to every 4 or 5 students, and so one person gets in. The instructor most of the time walked beside you, which it was kind of weird when you think about it. It's like, okay, so we don't know how to drive a truck, and you're just standing there telling us what to do, and you're like, what are you doing? So some people had struggles with that. I've driven enough different things, so I think I picked it up fairly well. The one we're testing or training on right now is a manual transmission, so you got a clutch to deal with and air brakes and everything. So 1 day of backing straight. So you'd get it back in the box, and then you drive forward, and then you'd back it into the box, and you do that usually 2 or 3 times, and then the next person would get to try it. And so you'd all watch and kind of pay attention to what the instructor was telling the other guy, or lady, We've got a few ladies in the class. They're doing well, so it's not just a guy thing. Let's see. Next day we did offset backing, which maybe I'll throw some diagrams up. Basically, the idea is, let's say you're either docked or lined up on a dock, and you realize that after you got yourself perfectly straight, you're lined up on the wrong dock. So like you're backed up looking at dock number 13 and you're supposed to be dock number 14, for instance. So what you do is you go forward again, and then you do an S turn. So if you're going here, you get the thing to turn, and then you come it in. That's proper English. So you kind of go up, over, and down again into the next parking spot, basically. And I've been calling this trigonometry for truck drivers, this whole process, because if you hit your marks and you get your format and your formula figured out, you turn your wheel, get the tractor to move a certain distance, and you got marks that you can look at, and then you straighten it out and you push the thing sideways, and then you do another turn, and then you get it to drop in. And this isn't about how to do it, but it's just kind of a process. So once you understand the sequence of, turn all the way to the left, go to a certain point, turn all the way to the right, get yourself straight, push it back, turn all the way to the right or whatever, and then back and forth. And once you get it right, the thing practically falls into where it's supposed to go. It's like, that's kind of cool. So once you learn the process, it's fairly repeatable. You can just get it. And then in between that, when you're between your marks, you're doing, again, straight line backing to get it to where you want, or you modify it a little bit. So if you're going in the right direction, but you realize you would be better if you were 2 feet to the left. Okay, turn the wheel a little bit to the right as you're backing. That swings things around, and then you watch and make sure it's going in the right way, and you're good. So that's kind of the process. The third day was parallel parking, which sounds like complete madness. Let's go take a semi truck and trailer with a 53-foot trailer. Let's back that into a parking spot in parallel parking. You're like, who in the frick figured that was a good idea, right? But apparently it's something that actually is pretty practical. So if you're in a situation where you're at a truck stop and the only place that is left to park is, between two other trucks, you can back it in there and just parallel park it right between these other two trucks. And it's, again, after doing it for a whole day, we took turns, we realized that if you can hit the marks and you understand what the instructor is saying, it is actually fairly easy to do. I mean, it's not a lot harder than parallel parking your car. It's crazy. So that's kind of fun. Kind of a cool party trick or something like that. And half the people can't parallel park a car anyway. But and then on Friday we did kind of an evaluation. It's not a test, but it was a way for the instructor to then see, this person is getting it, this person is not getting it, they're going to need some extra help, kind of a thing. And so the next week they'll be getting more one-on-one attention with somebody to fine-tune where they're having problems. So in my case, I became known as New Guinea because I was the guinea pig. And so the instructor, some people are just not getting it, some people are getting it more, because I used to, grew up on a farm and I knew how to drive a little bit and stuff. So he could show me what he wanted, and then I had an easier time doing it. So then he could sit back and explain what I was doing while everybody else was watching, kind of thing. Not that I was, necessarily better, but I had a little more experience, so I was able to figure it out. And I had better clutch control. That was one of the issues where some of the people were really having just a hard time just getting it in gear, releasing the clutch smoothly, and not jerking the truck. Some of those trucks, man, you pop a clutch on an 18-wheeler, man. It looks like a dog trying to dry off, when they shake and everything. It's kind of funny. So on the eval, first we've got what they call the pre-trip inspection. That's basically, if you're into airplanes, it's a pre-flight. you walk around the vehicle and you inspect a bunch of different things just to make sure that it's not falling apart and it's safe to drive. And that's a federal requirement to do a pre-trip every day. So you don't just jump in and go. You walk around and you inspect it. You check your tire pressure, you check your fluids, you check belts, you check tires, tread wear, wheels, the whole 9 yards. And the trailer, because a lot of I can't comment on a lot, but some trips you will just pick up a trailer and deliver it somewhere else and drop it off and then pick up another trailer. So you may not have the same trailer from one day to the next, and so you have to inspect the trailer because you don't know the history of this trailer. This trailer may have just come through Mexico and they stole all the lights off of it, or Chicago for that matter. So, not to pick on Mexicans or Chicago, but maybe the thing got parked in a bad neighborhood and somebody stole the lug nuts. Okay, that's probably good to know before you drive it away. So we do the pre-trip. You have an inspection process for the air brake system, which involves starting the truck up and checking different parts of the air brake system. And then you're ready to drive. So we go through all that. Did well. Missed a couple steps still, because we've been doing this for 2 weeks. This is not like, you don't have a lot of time to learn it. You do your best, but it's pretty intense. A lot of information very quickly. So the instructor was good in that on the pre-trip for the evaluation, if you had it, he wouldn't say very much. If you needed a little fine-tuning, he'd give you a little bump in the right direction, which they're not going to do for the final, but we needed to know where we were at. So that was good. You got to learn a little bit at the same time. He kind of fine-tunes which order you look at things so that you don't miss something. So that was good. So then we combined straight line and offset. So you get in the truck, you pull it forward, and then you back up through the cones. And then you pull it forward, and then you do the offset to drop it in the second lane. Well, on the offset, when you get it angled, you're supposed to stop it at a certain point, set the parking brakes, put it neutral, get out, walk back, make sure you're lined up where you want, and make sure the area behind you is clear. Well, I had read the steps probably 20 times, and we had done the maneuver a couple days before, so we were pretty solid with it. Completely missed the fact that I was supposed to stop at the certain point, and I was the first guy because I'm, New Guinea. So I do the, and it's like on the straight line backing, you don't have to get out unless you really get things screwed up, but you shouldn't have to. So you just pull forward and pull back. Okay. So I pull forward, pull back, pull up, get the angle set. I got a good look in the mirrors. I had a nice, perfect lineup. I was right where I wanted to be. Just dropped right in the box, popped the brakes, put it in neutral, get out, walk up to where everybody else is, and the next guy jumps in. And, I didn't want to be cocky, well, maybe a little bit, but I was like, okay, so look at the instructor. Anything you can add to that? And he's like, well, you are supposed to stop. I'm like, oh, you gotta be kidding me. It was so perfect. It didn't occur to me that I should stop and get out and look, because I could see right down the lane. I knew I was exactly where I wanted to be. He's like, yeah, nice job backing, but yeah, you are required to stop on this maneuver. I looked around. Everybody else, yeah, you're supposed to stop. I was like, oh, I forgot to stop. Okay. So in my handout, I grabbed another color of highlighter marker and circled it. Stop here. Do not drive past. So get up to the parallel parking one, and I had been so focused on the first few, and we had just done parallel parking the day before, and he had been kind of pointing out, where to look, and you get the idea. Once you know how to back and turn, it's pretty straightforward. So I get in the truck, I get it pulled forward to where we're supposed to start from, and I stop there for a second, and I'm looking at the mirrors, and I'm looking at the other mirror, and my brain just, I'm like, how far back am I supposed to go? I literally just completely forgot. So I'm like, okay, I know I have to get it in the box, so let me just back up in that general direction, and then when it looks about right, I'll start the swing. So I'm backing up, I'm getting there, and I kind of figured, let me put the duals of the trailer at the first cone. That'll be, a good starting point. That's about 10 feet further than I was supposed to be. So just when I was almost there, he's yelling and pointing. He's like, "Where are you going?" I'm like, just kind of pointing. So he comes up to the window. He's like, "No, you see that mark over there on the side, on the concrete? They had some reference marks that you could kind of look at." And I'm like, "Oh, that's the one." Okay, so he's like, "Okay, do it again." So I pull up, and then it worked out pretty good. I was maybe a little bit off on the first try, but he's showing us when you're off which way to steer to get it right. So, good learning experience. So at that point, I'm like, I didn't, know where I was on the scores or anything like that. It wasn't until the next day, so Saturday, yesterday, when we go in. So we were doing 6 days a week still. So on Saturday, the instructors came in, and they're like, very disappointed in us. We're the worst class they've seen in forever. I'm sure they give everybody the same pep talk, but they're like, "Okay, so if we call your name, you don't have to do extra work." And I was one, and there was the lady sitting next to me was the other one, and we kind of looked at each other and was like, "Really?" So apparently we were the only two that had passed or gotten signed off. We're not officially passed yet. We got another week at least to go. So that was kind of a good feeling, but at the same time you look around and you're like, wow, okay, my first thought was leave no one behind, right? So we're still doing the study groups, and by the end of the evaluation day, Friday, Steve kind of takes me aside. He was my group's instructor. He's like, "All right, so this guy's going to need a little bit of help, and this guy, So he's like, just try to get with him a little bit on afters and stuff like that. So I've kind of been assigned to help the other guys, and I'm like, I haven't passed myself yet, but anyway. So what I remember though from my time in the Navy, after I was qualified to do some of the jobs, they would almost immediately give you somebody to help train, right? And I learned something new from every time I trained somebody. And that's just kind of a good thing to remember, is even if you don't really know it really well yourself, you learn from helping train somebody else, because they will ask a question that you never thought of. And by teaching them or getting them in the right direction, it reinforces what you know. So it's definitely not a bad thing there. So I was like, all right, so we had a study group last night, and we got to talk to a driver who's been out for 7 or 8 months now. He's now solo. You spend about 6 weeks typically driving with another more experienced driver when you first get your CDL, and then they just turn you loose, not with a brand new truck, but it's still, well, what did he say, 200,000 miles on it or something like that, which is about just getting broke in on some of these. So this company tends to sell their trucks when they get to a certain age, which is not very old. I don't remember exactly the year, but one guy said they probably sell them right around 400,000 miles, so they've got a lot of life left in them. So I guess they figured you can sell it before the heavy maintenance starts coming up, kind of thing. So yeah, we started studying, and this guy came in and somebody asked him a question, and then it turned into the next 2 hours of everybody asking this guy questions about stuff that it's like every other new job where you don't really know what you're getting into. You're like, when the instructors are there, you can't think of a good question. You don't even know enough to ask a good question. So yeah, that was the end of our study session probably. But anyway, that's the end of the second week off the ranch. Yeah, so much to learn, and I think I said this on the last video, but at the end of my approximately 3 to 3.5 weeks of training, so I got another minimum week and a half to go, I will then have my license, but I will have zero experience. And I will then spend the next 6 weeks with a more experienced driver driving his truck, and we'll be doing cross-country, over-the-road truck driving. The recruiter said expect to see most of the 48 states in approximately 6 weeks. So they have kind of an itinerary where they want you to do at least 2 different mountain passes to get used to proper hill climbing and hill descent. You have to gear down coming down hills, and you have to come over the top of the hill slow enough so that you can control your speed. Otherwise you have a roller coaster, which is not good when you're 80,000 pounds. We'll probably see a little bit of winter driving since it's still February. There's still some storms happening, so we probably will see some winter driving. Part of it also is we have a lot of customers that they want us to learn how to deal with different customers as far as, well, I suppose the customer's processes, but every customer dock is slightly different, and so there will be some that will be hitting just to learn how to get into certain docks and that kind of a thing. So that should be interesting. And so what this one guy that we were talking to last night recommended is try to keep notes, because the next time you get to this place you're going to be by yourself, and so you have to know how to get in there. And from a company point of view, our company is based on really doing good service for our best customers, kind of a thing. I mean, we'll probably drive for anybody, but we've got some big name customers, and it's important for us to be able to get their product moved on time, and otherwise they won't call us back the next time. So you obviously need to take care of your customers, and the more time the better you can be getting into their dock and get load on time, get out, and then coming back, you get back to their dock on time and park it efficiently and get it going. So the 6 weeks on the road is going to be, he said it's going to be insanely intense as far as you're still learning the ropes. You don't really know how to drive the truck yet. You just barely got qualified as far as, you've got your license. It's like, the first year you were driving a car. Yes, you can technically work the pedals, but how good of a driver are you really, right? So this is kind of the next step, is now you are licensed to drive a truck. But I've talked to a couple of people that if you don't get a good trainer, yes, you will be signed off, you will have successfully finished your 6 weeks of on-the-road training, but you have to know how to do navigation. It's not just using the GPS on your phone. There's a whole bunch more to it. You have to know where the way stations are. You have to know low clearances so you don't get stuck in, going under a bridge that's too low, that kind of thing. You need, your logbook. You need to know you're only allowed to drive so many hours in a day, and then you have to have enough rest time. Well, if you screw that up, there's fines and all kinds of stuff that happen there, because, enough truckers have fallen asleep driving that they made it a big deal. You have to be able to get to the customers on time, and so that means you have to be efficient in your driving. You have to get to where you're going on time, which if you're driving halfway across the country, that can make a difference. You have to be aware of how much your fuel is going to cost and how many hours it will take you to get there. All right. Now, the company does pay for fuel, and then there's also, the guy was talking a little bit of strategy. If you drive well, don't overspeed. Also, the truck has tattletales on it, so your corporate office knows if you're driving too fast, or if you get tickets, or if you're doing unsafe maneuvers. The truck apparently knows if you're following somebody too closely. Yeah. And they'll call you and tell you that they know that you're following somebody too closely, right? Of course, you're not supposed to answer your phone when you're driving, so I'm not sure how that's supposed to work. But yeah, if you don't drive too fast, you get better mileage. Well, on something as big as a semi, fuel mileage is a huge deal, and so the company, they pay for your fuel, But if you do it right, they pay you a bonus for not burning too much fuel. So it's kind of a toss-up. The one guy we talked to last night says you'll get a bigger bonus if you don't burn as much fuel. If you drive faster, you'll get paid for more miles, but you're burning more fuel. But he says the way that he is seeing it, driving a little bit slower, you get paid more money at the end of the week because you get the bonus, and it doesn't matter if you didn't drive as many miles as long as you get to your customers on time. So there's a lot to it. It's not just driving down the road. And I honestly don't know what the hell I'm talking about yet, so hopefully nobody's watching this and trying to figure out what's happening. I don't know, man. I just don't know. Anyhow, it's, whatever it is. Sunday, I guess. End of my second week. Oh, one more thing while I'm thinking of it. And I kind of knew this before. I don't have all the details, and this is one of those things you don't really know until it happens. But a couple people have said, a couple instructors, and also this driver from last night, depending on where you live and how it schedules, you're going to do your first 6 weeks on the road, and then you're going to get assigned a truck, and at some point you're probably going to get to go home. But the guy that we talked to last night recommended not going home right away because you just got finished training. You got to get out and start driving so you can make some money, and you need to kind of solidify what you've just learned. You know, you come out of school, and if you take a week off, you're going to forget everything again, right? So you come out of training, you jump into your own truck, and you go out and you start making a few trips. Then after maybe another month or two, then go home and take a week off. And by that time, you've earned a little bit of time off, and you've got enough money where you can afford to take some time off. So realistically, I don't really expect to be out to the ranch very much for the rest of this year. Maybe a week altogether or something like that. So yeah, that's kind of weird to think about. I'm like, you know. But the good side of it is, in that time, I'm not going to be spending a lot of money going out and buying stuff because I don't need it. I don't have room in the truck to have it. I will have, I'll buy my own food. Maybe I'll, get a laptop or something like that, which I didn't bring with me because I didn't want to have it in the truck right away. But at some point I'll go home and, either I'll buy another laptop or I'll, get the laptop that I had back at the bus still. Probably, start taking my video camera and stuff with me when I get my own truck. So, but yeah, if I don't have enough, if I don't have a lot of space in the truck, I don't need to buy a bunch of stuff. It doesn't make sense to buy something and leave it out on the ranch and then it just sits there for a year, right? So that's kind of where I'm looking at right now is odds are what I'm doing for the next year is just making money and hopefully not spending money. And then I can turn around and put bigger payments on the ranch. And then we go from there. Keep my head down, drive hard for 2 or 3 years. I should have the ranch paid off. That opens up all kinds of options. So that's the plan. To all the new subscribers, hey, thanks for checking out the channel. Going forward, it's going to be more travel and truck driving. We're not going to see much of the ranch for a while, but the good news is there's a whole bunch of videos. You can go back and watch them. As I get time, one thing I do want to do is go back and make playlists because I wasn't doing that before. I do now have internet access, which I didn't have very much of when I was out on the ranch. I didn't have internet access out. When I was in the bus, I didn't have internet access. So that'll be, something I can do because there's a lot of things that I was working on where off-grid laundry, or what's another example? The water system I was building, solar system, batteries, generators. So what I hope to be able to do as I get time is go back and find all the videos that are kind of related to each other and then make playlists so somebody new coming in can just look at all of how I built the solar system and that kind of thing. So that's kind of it. Just kind of hanging out here in the parking lot because it's quieter. So yeah, here we are into halfway through February already. Texas weather, typical. One day it's nice and warm, you're wearing your t-shirt. The next day you're looking for your hat and your gloves and your jacket because it's wind is blowing and it's freaking cold. But I really shouldn't complain because the rest of the world still has snow. So yeah, there you go. Anyhow, as always, if you have any questions or comments, go ahead and put them down in the comments and the doodly doo down there. If you liked it, go ahead and click on like, and if you're new to the channel, click on subscribe, and I'll see you soon. Thank you for watching. Bye for now.